Alright, hello. This is me again with Michael McNeely. And we have finished reading Native Son. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So now that we have finished the book, I guess we can comment on the book as a whole, how we felt about it. I think the ending was pretty much what we were expecting in terms of...
Did you expect a long court trial?
I didn't expect him to dedicate so much time to Max's defense, but I really liked that sort of stylistic decision. I think it was a clever way for the author to sort of address the book reader.
Interesting.
And I really felt like Max's final statement was very much Richard Wright speaking about Bigger Thomas on a bigger level.
What was the final statement in your opinion?
I think in a lot of ways it was that Bigger Thomas was just a product of the imaginary, and he was a logical product of a system that had disenfranchised him. I still have a bit of a hard time with the notion that he's not guilty of the murders because 2 women are still dead. I think. What do you think?
I think you're right. I think my student said it best that she came up with a test about female characters. The Beat-Do test.
Okay, interesting.
And she said that, the student with autism.
Yes.
And she said, if we can replace the women with a cardboard cutout. Yeah, see,
I love that.
I think you can replace the woman with a cardboard cutout here.
Yeah.
Except for the sexual assault, obviously.
Yeah.
And for the murder itself. Because of course we don't go around murdering cutouts. But ultimately, they, like the blonde lady,
the
Mrs.
mother.
Dalton.
Yeah.
They all stood in for something or some cool thing.
Yeah. Well, I found it really interesting that, and they did directly address, like, the thing that made Bigger so uncomfortable with Mary was the way she treated him. And it wasn't that she was cruel to him. It was this condescending kindness that was so alien to him.
Well, actually, they did kind of address it at the end.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody would have known that's how she treated him. Because Max wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
And he didn't talk to Max about his defense.
That's true.
It's the only way I have to tell you that. But I think the father was more condescending than Mary was.
Yes. But
I think Mary was trying.
Yeah.
But ultimately she got drunk and her intentions were skewed a bit.
Well, yeah, and I think, again, like, she was still working and operating within a very limited framework of how she could see Bigger. And I think, I don't know.
She was between her father and her boyfriend.
Yeah.
So she was stuck in a very hard place here.
Yeah.
And she didn't really have a black friend to talk to or anything.
No. But I thought it was an interesting portrayal of that sort of fetishization of otherness.
No, yes, that's true.
That they, like, it was this sort of spectacle, this, like, new thing for them to eat with a black person and to go into the neighborhood where black people eat. And it was...
No, that's true.
And there was no sense of how they were violating Bigger's own sense of dignity. And so
you're right, it didn't come up in the defense, that aspect.
Well, I think they talked a little bit about how it was so foreign to him to have people...
Be kind.
Yeah, like to shake hands with him was so foreign to him that it just never
Max
happened.
even was foreign to him.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about Max?
Yeah, Max is an interesting character, and I also had a bit of a challenge with having Max as a white person, though he was Jewish. But for him to be the voice of this African-American man is...
But still written by an African-American man.
Yes. So that was like a really interesting sort of very interesting character. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if you read the foreword, but the afterword, but he says there were no African American or black lawyers at the time.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the only defense he's going to get is going to be like that, the other book, that famous book there that everyone's talking about, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So of course you have a white lawyer doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's the same time period.
Well, and it was interesting to make the decision to have him be a communist and to sort of draw those parallels of like the hysteria and the imaginary surrounding communism and how Bigger used that hysteria to try to defend himself. I don't know. It was a really good book.
I think so.
I do. What did you think?
No, I think it stands the test of time. It has something to say about, a present time.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, it's still so true. Like all these years later.
Well, I think it's interesting because it kind of says that you're judging people on the same standards as other people. So that we judge black people on the standards that we judge white people. And we say, why did you rob that bank? When Mrs. Johnson would never do a thing like that. But Mrs. Johnson is from a wealthy family.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So the standards need to be adjusted.
And I guess that's really what Max's final speech was trying to get at, right? Was that we need to look at something bigger than just the crime itself. We need to look at the crime of the system. And I think it was a very important, very conscious choice that the Dalton family were the landlords.
No, I think so.
And that they that they asked Mr. Dalton, like, why do you rent out these apartments to people of color? And he said, well, that's what everyone else does.
Yes.
And I thought that was so telling of like how the system continues to be perpetuated. That it's just, it's what's always been done.
I just didn't like the crack that he made at Mrs. Dalton's expense.
That Mr. Dalton made? What crack?
That Max made about Mrs. Dalton.
Oh, what did he say?
He said, your efforts to help are as blind as your impaired eyes.
Yeah. Sometimes.
But, you know what? It was actually her husband that was the one doing the helping. We didn't see any evidence of her being a bad helper. Yeah.
Well, sometimes the blind metaphor got a little heavy-handed.
I think that's probably what Tanya wants you to notice.
Yeah, like...
Especially, do you have that book? You can get that book.
Which book?
That her husband wrote, or her partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to brag, just to show it around. Yeah, obviously she knows. I went this in preparation. I'm just wondering why he moved back to Toronto. He says they went to Nova Scotia.
Because she got a job at Oise, I think. She mentioned that in class.
Yes, very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah. But let's talk about the end. Let's talk about why you think Bigger Thomas wants to stay alive all of a sudden.
Good question. I think that what Max talks about in his final speech about giving Bigger, if he were to have life in prison, that he would finally have a system that makes sense for him, like a predictable world. Oh, we have 1 minute now.
I can need more than a minute to figure this one out.
Well, no, I think that sense that if he were to stay in prison, he would finally have some sort of safety and predictability.
I think it's more than that.
Okay.
I think Max is the first person that saw him as a human being.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about, response.
Yeah.
Last week. But I think that's what he's trying to say with his limited vocabulary.
Yeah.
And he's trying to say, you're the first person that deigned to talk to me.
Yeah.
As if I wasn't the scum of the earth.
Yeah.
As if I wasn't something to be shuffled off the floor. And you know what? He actually wanted to spend time with Max at the end.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
But then the question is, that I asked myself is, did Max actually ever see Bigger as a person? Or did he see him as a means to an end? in that he was trying to further his communist ideology, and he's using bigger as a symbolic representation of a systemic problem as a way to dismantle a system he sees as problematic, rather than actually who bigger really is.
To be fair, I don't know if he actually said anything that was relatively communistic in his speech for Bigger Thomas.
I mean, I think just
I didn't say, let's overthrow the capitalist regime.
But I think just like that, the ideology of criticizing and looking at the structure of the system. I think he does talk about the means of production, actually, a little bit.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
No. But it's interesting because I think that's what clued in to Bigger Thomas, that he may have a reason to live.
Yeah.
If people saw him as equal.
But then it's sort of that, like, one grain of sand in the entire world, right?
But isn't that what we're supposed to be looking for?
I guess so, if we're going to be optimists, yeah. Yeah. All right, well, on that note, thank you so much for collaborating with me on this project. It's been very interesting.
No, it was.
We kind of finally got our book club.
Should I look forward to the next book that we read?
Yeah, well, I feel like I might actually read the other books. I think if they're like this one, they're probably quite interesting. So
yeah, if it's up a man, it's a bit similar.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Let me hit my